What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter von Panda here. Hey, I want to show you something that I showed you a while ago, but I want to start with a story because I've kind of found a new love for this thing. And the story starts with me traveling for vacation, which a lot of people do. And I ended up having a really long flight coming back. You probably saw some of my videos from that vacation. But right after that, because I'd been gone a while, I had a bunch of work trips planned, like immediately following. So in fact, weeks after that trip, I was literally on the road. Now, it wasn't really until the last week of that particular work trip that I had a lot of flights. In fact, I had 6 legs of flights in 4 days. So I had 3 clients to visit over 4 days, and so it was just bouncing around. And in fact, you also probably saw some of my other videos that I got stuck in a lot of airports. So flights were delayed, there was weather coming through, and there were all sorts of reasons. I was just sitting around waiting in the airport, waiting on the plane, taking long flights, sitting in Ubers, sitting in hotels, the whole 9 yards, and so you get very sedentary. Now, fast forward to wrapping the whole trip up, and I get home and I fly into O'Hare Airport and get off the plane, and the first thing you probably do is you head for the restroom, which I did. Now, in O'Hare, like a lot of other airports, they have industrial-sized vanities, right? And so they're very large. They're usually either stainless steel or stone, whatever. But they're pretty high, generally, to accommodate people of different heights. And then they're also very deep, usually because they have sensors on the faucets and the soap dispensers and different automatic dispensers of paper and soap and all that. And so I was leaning over to wash my hands, and washing my hands, and I really had to lean because I'm not that tall of a guy. And so I was kind of balancing myself forward, and what I realized is I felt something go out of my back, and I could not stand up. Now, if you've ever worked out to failure, whether it's doing bench presses or something like that, and then you go to try to open the door to the gym, sometimes you just can't do it. It doesn't necessarily hurt, but you just don't have any energy. You don't have any strength left. And for the life of me, while I was bent over that sink, I could not stand straight up. It was a little weird. No matter what I did, I just couldn't. So I ended up kind of pushing myself straight up, and that's when I felt the pain in my back. So I had tweaked a muscle in my back, and in fact, it hurt really badly right at that point. And I actually thought I was going to have to call airport help to wheel me out somewhere. But after taking a couple minutes and kind of working it, I was able to kind of muscle through it and get home. Now, fast forward to me getting home. I had this at home, and I remembered I did. And so after taking an Advil, I busted this out. It's called the Backsmith, and it's from Healwell. And this little belt here has air bladders in it. And I tell you this long, drawn-out story because, I had this, and I didn't really have a need for it. I just thought it was really interesting. But I was so glad that I had this. Even if this were available in Amazon Prime and I had one dated, I probably would have wanted it that first day. And so I tried it out, and man, I can tell you that this thing was amazing. I'm not even sure how you would duplicate something like this without having this. Maybe you could run like really tight bandages around, but this thing worked amazing, and it got me back on my feet way quicker than I was expecting. So let me just show you the Backsmith again. First of all, we have this vinyl belt. It kind of looks like a weightlifting belt, but it has some air bladders in it right around here. It also has some big Velcro pads on the ends. In fact, when you get it, you get this extender. So if you're a big guy like me around the middle, you're not going to have any problem getting this around your waist. It also comes with this pump here, so you can pump this up. And what that does is it expands the bladder. So let me show you here. I'm just going to pull it around my waist here, just like this. And the pain was like right here, just kind of off center on this side of my back. And that may have been because I usually, pick one side of the plane and just always, creature of habit, stay on one side. So maybe I'm leaning one way or another. But you can see here, I can kind of close it, but it's not super comfortable to do it like that. So this is where this extender comes in, so if you're a bigger guy like me, you can adjust this to kind of cinch this up. And what you want to do is get it kind of nice and cinched up to begin with. So this is what I did, and I had it on like this. And now you can see I have a little nozzle right here to those air bladders, and it's got a little Schrader valve on it. And I can take this air pump, push it on there, clip it on there, which closes the O-ring around it, and then I can just start pumping like this. Now, because I've already cinched it up, man, I could feel the pressure already building. And this was awesome for just kind of keeping me, you know, in place, kind of keeping me from tweaking my back or not giving it the time, and, you know, kind of putting me in traction so that I was letting that muscle heal and kind of relax. And oh, man, it's getting really tight, which is awesome. As well as, you know, if you kind of, you know, herniate yourself or something, you've got things pushing out, and this kind of brings everything back in. Now I can just unhook this, and I've got this belt, as you can probably see, pretty tight. It's probably gonna suppress some appetite too, baby. But man, holy smokes, this thing feels great. And it's really holding me in place. It's preventing me from kind of moving around. I was able to sleep with this, but not only that, I was able to still be productive. So I could sit in my chair, I could sit up, I wasn't having to worry about kind of babying my back. Especially when you have a pain like this, where you don't have this really acute pain all the time. It's just when you irritate it, right? So it's really easy to kind of sit at your computer, do some work, and then get up and kind of move around and stress it, and kind of undo all of that healing that's been done. And so this is great because when that pain is out of sight, out of mind, you can really kind of aggravate it again. So, you know, I use this honestly for like a day, and I could not believe it. I've tweaked my back before, getting out of bed, putting on shirts, whatever, you know, playing sports. You've probably done that too, and you know how painful and how long those can last. And generally, you'll go and get a muscle relaxer, you know, hot, cold packs, whatever. And I didn't have to do any of that. Besides the Advil I took on day one and this traction device, this Backsmith device, man, I was ready to get back to work about 24, 36 hours later, which was amazing to me. So I was super glad I had it. Also, if you're traveling, make sure you get some stretching in, some movement in to kind of keep yourself limber. But man, this thing was a godsend. I loved having it. I was super glad I had it. I'll put a link to in the description where you can get this. But when I reached out to the guys at Healwell, I'll tell you what, they're stand-up guys. The guys that actually run it as well kind of shared some stories where they've used this too, whether it was playing with their kids and hurting themselves. Man, this thing really does work. It's not a gimmick, and I was super, super happy to have it. So whether you think you might have it, whether you've had a back problem in the past and you just want to have one on hand, whether you do a lot of things which might kind of leave you prone to having a back injury or a spasm like this, I would pick one of these up, because when you're going to need it, you're going to want it instantly. Check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. Peter Von Panda, out!